Hello everyone and welcome to lesson 2.0. This is our first lesson in our second unit for IB History 1, and that is the introduction to authoritarian leaders. So this is a paper 2 concept that we're going to be discussing. So by the end of this lesson, students will be able to do the following. You should be able to explain the specifics of IB History Paper 2. You should be able to describe the 3 subcategories of study for authoritarian leaders, and you should also be able to explain the details of how authoritarian leaders unit will be studied and what you're going to be completing throughout the duration of this particular unit. So again, as a reminder, just reminding you that if you see anything in blue, that is your something that you definitely want to focus on in terms of notes. But in terms of IB History, in IB History we have 3 papers that you have to complete. Paper 1 and Paper 2 are for all levels, regardless if you're HL or SL. And today we're going to talk about Paper 2 exclusively. So Paper 2 requires that you write 2 essays, each from a different topic. The 2 topics that we actually choose are independence movements from 1800 to 2000 and authoritarian states. So we're going to be talking about the one from authoritarian states. So these are the 2 topics, topic 8 and topic 10, that we chose to do. And so you will choose one question from topic 8 and one question from topic 10 in order to answer. So on the IB exam, you will be given you'll be given a whole series of essay questions from paper 2, but you will only focus on questions from topic 8 and topic 10. In the authoritarian leaders unit, you will be asked to do the following 3 things in terms of Adolf Hitler in this particular case study, and then in the leader that you're going to study on your own. You're going to be required to explain the emergence of authoritarian leaders, the methods used to consolidate and maintain their power, and then the aims and results of their domestic policies. So when we discuss Adolf Hitler as a class, we're going to do all 3 of these things. And then you are going to then research the leader, of the authoritarian leader of your choice to compare Adolf Hitler to, and you will actually do these 3 things on your own about your respective leader, okay? So the first subcategory that we have to study for authoritarian leaders is the emergence of authoritarian states. So this is that, where do they start? Where do they begin? And it explores the factors that allowed these regimes to come to power. So first of all, we need to look at the conditions. Conditions refer to the existing situation in a nation that leads to authoritarianism. So that means what is going on in that country. Are there economic factors in place, social division going on? Is there a weak political system? Is there war going on, or has there been a war recently that's caused this nation to become unstable? Then secondly, we have methods that we need to look at. And methods refer to the techniques that are used by that particular leader to gain power. And so some of the things that we look at from there is the role of other leaders. So what other prominent, and since we're doing Hitler as a case study, what other prominent Germans were around during that time period that either helped and aided Adolf Hitler to come into power, or even those that helped, try to prevent him from coming to power? So what were the role of other leaders? What role does their ideology play? The use of force, how forceful were they? Did they use force, persuasion, and coercion? And how effective was their propaganda machine? So all of these different things we will be looking at in order for us to understand the emergence of authoritarian states. And that is the first subcategory that we will actually be studying, is how do these authoritarian states emerge? In our second subcategory of study, this is the methods of consolidation and maintenance of power. And so what this means is that it is the methods part is concerned with the methods used for power to be consolidated and then maintained throughout the authoritarian leader's rule. So what we're looking at in this particular category is what type of strategies did they use to, first of all, consolidate their power. They've already become the authoritarian leader, so that's already established. They need to consolidate their power so that more and more people will follow them. So what did they do to do that? Did they use legal methods? Did they use force, like having a secret police or something? Was it because they were just a charismatic leader? Did they do great speech writing? Did they have effective use of propaganda? Was there a success or failure at foreign policy? That can actually help, make a leader stronger if they have successful foreign policy. And then the extent and treatment of their opposition. How effective were they dealing with their opposition? Did they stifle the opposition to the point that, there is no official opposition, or is there still an opposition for them to have? So we're looking at, in this particular section of methods, we're just looking at the different types of methods that were used by these leaders to both consolidate their power, and then once they got their power and had consolidated it, maintaining it. And lastly, our third subcategory of study is the aims and results of domestic policies. Okay, and so what this means is this is an exploration of domestic policy through the lens of social, economic, political, and cultural policies. So we're going to look at Adolf Hitler. I'm going to look at some of the social, economic, political, and cultural policies that he established under his regime, and then you're going to do the same thing with the leader of your choice. Now, policies can be used as evidence in consolidation and maintenance of power if you need it. And this section also focuses on the status and treatment of women and minority groups. So when we get to this particular category, you will look at, there will be time spent on how did the Nazi regime impact women specifically, and then how did they impact minority groups, and not just Jewish minority groups, but other minority groups within Germany. And you will do the same thing with the other leaders that you choose to research with to compare Adolf Hitler to. You're going to do the same thing. What policies and results of their domestic policies impacted women and minorities in their country, and then what were the goals of their policies, and how successful were those policies once they were established. So that's the last part that you're having to worry about, is just the aims and results of those domestic policies. So, Unit 2 breakdown. This is how this unit is going to look. Okay, so Unit 2 objective is to do this. Compare the rise to power, consolidation of power, and domestic policies of two authoritarian leaders from two different world regions. This dude here is the person we are doing first. Okay, everybody's going to do a case study on Adolf Hitler. So all of us together, we're going to do a case study on Adolf Hitler, and we're going to discuss Hitler's rise to power, consolidation of power, and his domestic policies. So we're going to do that all together as a group. Then you guys will get to independent student case study of your own. You will be allowed to choose if you would like to research Gamal Nasser from Egypt, Mao Zedong from China, or Fidel Castro from Cuba. And so keep in mind that the IB requires that it be from two different world regions. And so that's the reason why, since we are doing Adolf Hitler as a case study, everybody already has Europe done. So that's why you can't do Joseph Stalin, you can't do Mussolini or anything like that. So we do Adolf Hitler as a case study, and then you guys get to choose between any one of these three other gentlemen, Nasser, Mao, or Castro. And after you have chosen your particular person you're going to research, you're going to do the exact same thing for Nasser, Mao, or Castro. You're going to research their rise to power, their consolidation of power, and the methods they use, and then you're going to research their domestic policies and compare that with Adolf Hitler. And you will be given a template for that, and you'll be given all the information that you need to research your leader of choice, so don't worry about having to find your own research. We will actually give you most of that to prepare yourselves for. And just like that, lesson 2.0 is complete. So we have now taken our lesson objectives and turned them into questions. Can you explain the specifics of the IB History Paper 2? Can you explain what Paper 2 is? Do you remember Topic 8, Topic 10, that type of thing? Secondly, can you describe the three subcategories of study for authoritarian leaders? So what are the three subcategories that we're going to study? And lastly, can you explain the details of how the Authoritarian Leaders Unit will be studied? If you can do so, then pat yourself in the back. You're doing an amazing job. Look to see if there's any activity for Lesson 2.0. If there is, please complete that. If not, then move on to Lesson 2.1, and you are ready to go. Thank you so much for your time, and have a wonderful day.